Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Nathan Daley. Welcome back to my channel. Listen, I'm going to dive right into the subject. Let's talk about the high school shooting that took place in Texas. What happened? Where did we go wrong? What's the issues? There's a lot to unpack from this incident. Why? Because you have parents involved, you have the lifestyle of kids in modern day. What is really going on? What really happened? And this concept of bullying. Well, let's take a step back. And let's talk about what actually happened. For you guys who already know briefly about the story, you have the offender, the shooter, the suspect, Timothy Simpkins. And you have the victim, Zacchaeus Shelby. Well, what happened? Well, according to the news, Timothy, who's 18 years old, was sitting in his classroom when Zacchaeus, who's 15, came into his classroom. And at some point in time, we know that they had a confrontation. That confrontation got physical and they got into a fight. Right? There's a student in the classroom who was actually filming the altercation. Well, when the teachers came in, they were able to separate the two parties. But then what ended up happening afterwards was Timothy went to his book bag after they were separated, got a gun, came back, and he shot Zacchaeus. He shot Zacchaeus, I believe, approximately four times. But also who was shot was the teacher and then also another student. All three of them were sent to the hospital. But Zacchaeus was actually in critical condition. He is still in the hospital in ICU undergoing surgeries. Now, what we do know is Timothy's charged with 3 counts of aggravated assault, which in a lot of states, that is as close to attempted murder as a person will get. What we do know, second, is that Zacchaeus is still in the hospital. Now, we pray that he makes a full recovery. But God forbid if he does not make a full recovery, then what happens? Then what you will see is Timothy's charges are going to be upgraded. They will be upgraded to either murder or manslaughter. And what does that mean? For them to have to prove that Timothy intended to murder Zacchaeus, right? And if they can't prove the intent for murder, then they definitely have a manslaughter charge. This is very serious, but there's a lot more to unpack from this story. When you watch the video, one of the most interesting things that was stated in that video by Zacchaeus towards the end was he made a statement to Timothy. Now, what's interesting about that statement is that it has context. It actually means something, right? It actually really, for me, solidifies that there's a unique relationship between both people. This isn't a I'm getting bullied by someone else thing. This has nothing to do about being bullied. I can assure you that. Just based off of that statement. Now, I'm gonna tell you, with all my years of my experience, I've policed a majority of my career in the Black community. I know the lingo, I understand the Black culture, and when certain words of vernacular are being used to insult one another, they have context. They actually mean something. There's 2 parts to that statement. Let's talk about the first part. He called him a hoe ass nigga. That's a very interesting statement to make. But it has meaning. What does it mean? He's not referring to a garden tool and he's not referring to a person's sexual behavior. He's talking about the core of a person. In this context, what he's saying, he's referring to his behavior as a man, right? He's saying that whatever he did as a man, whatever their relationship was, whatever took place, whatever type of agreement they may have had, he either betrayed that trust by either revealing information that he should not have to other people, by either snitching or telling on something or about someone, right? Possibly snitching, or he's calling him a coward, something that he did or did not do, did not follow through, or the way he moves as an individual and his perception as Zacchaeus' perception of what a male should be or what a man should be. He's saying that Timothy operates outside of that perception of what he believes is manly, right? That's so if another male calls another male hoe, insulting in our community, the Black community, it is an insult. You know, you're a hoe ass person, meaning that, you know, you can't be trusted, you're not, you're pathetic, or something that you did is beneath the people, the crew, the group, right? Now, this shows that there has been a unique relationship between the two as associates. The last statement that he made, he stated, "on blood." I quote, "on blood." Now, blood referring to gang affiliated, that is a gang affiliated statement, right? So it's possible that this could be gang related to some extent. Either Zacchaeus could possibly himself be gang affiliated, or they are both gang affiliated, and this whole thing about him being robbed for his things and this back and forth between him allegedly, if this is even between him and Zacchaeus or him and other boys at the school, this could very much well be a gang related situation. Why is that? These two boys are in active communication. Something went wrong in their, as them being associates within their relationship. Something went wrong, and I believe that as the investigation unfolds, you will see that Timothy himself is not going to be the innocent kid that the mother is trying to portray. I can guarantee you that there's nothing innocent about him. And let's be completely clear, Zacchaeus is not innocent either. There are some real victims, and the victims are the people who were shot, okay? And people are claiming that this is self-defense. This is not self-defense, you guys. Nothing about this is self-defense. And shame on people who are trying to justify him having a gun because he was bullied in school. At no point in time does a person being bullied in school justify a person bringing a gun and then shooting people inside the school. At no point in time is that acceptable. And to be completely honest, he should be held to the full extent of the law, which is ag assault, attempted murder, and let's pray that Zacchaeus does not lose his life behind this altercation. But what else is there to be said? You don't put your hands on people, right? Zacchaeus and other people who believe that we can solve our problems through fighting one another physically. Now, granted, I know there's more to the story, but the reality is this: how could this have been prevented? Could this have been prevented? Of course it could have. But then who's at fault, right? That's always the big question. Who's responsible for this? Well, it's the people involved, the two kids, right? Timothy and Zacchaeus. No, they are to blame 100%. Why? Because we all have self-control. We all make choices. Now, what about the parents? The parents are 100% responsible as well. Why? Because they raise these children. So what's the reality, right? Parents instill values. Parents enforce these values on their kids. Now, at the same time, it's the kid's choice to follow the rules or follow the teachings that their parents put together. It is on the kids. There's no doubt about that. The school. What's the school's responsibility on this? Does the school have responsibility? Well, now if they didn't address things that were brought to their attention, then absolutely there's some things there. But at the end of the day, the school is limited in what they can actually enforce. Because guess what? When there's a will, there's a way. You can keep these kids separated. You can suspend them. They're either going to do it at school, they're going to do it on the bus, they're going to do it at home. Either way, the school is not responsible for the behavior of kids. They have no control over the actions of these kids. These kids are definitely not afraid of them. So at the end of the day, what are we looking at? We are looking at a situation that's bigger than what we actually see. There's so much to unpack from this. You have you have two mothers on both sides saying their kids are innocent. And let's be honest, these kids are not innocent, right? These kids are not innocent. There's more to the story. These mothers are delusional, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because they're speaking so highly of these two boys, and I guarantee you that they're not these great kids that they want to present to the media. The reality is they are probably both bullies, and they probably both cause issues within the school that you might not hear about, they're not gonna share. But what's interesting is one of the representatives for Timothy's family made a statement talking about why he's bullied all the time, because he has nice things. But what they're saying is that they give him nice things. They can afford nice things. They're more well off than a lot of the other kids, kind of really just painting this picture that they have this money, that they're wealthy, and that the reason why he's always bullied because he has nice things and the kids are jealous of him. That's not it. I assure you that's not the situation. Situations like this in school, a lot of times kids who find themselves in these situations usually are not humble. They're usually very arrogant. They usually flex or try to boast about the things they have. And they usually tend to be the ones that are doing the bullying, insulting and intimidating other kids for not having what they have. ultimately puts them in a position where they get in fights, where they get into arguments, and ultimately get their things taken from them. Now, that doesn't justify it happening, but that is the reality of what goes on in a lot of schools, middle schools and high schools, right? I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. In all of my experience, one thing that I've always realized about parents, especially mothers, they are so oblivious when it comes to the true nature of their children, especially the males. For whatever reason, mothers believe that their children are perfect and that they don't cause any problems. But to be completely honest, what ends up happening is your child lives a double life. And I tell a lot of parents this when dealing with them. Your child lives a double lifestyle. The child you know at home is usually not the child that's at school. It's usually a totally different person. I've arrested so many kids, and I'm gonna tell you, what's interesting is that a lot of these kids are straight A students, right? Parents are looking at that, and it's hard for them to believe that the child could commit a crime or their child could be a complete menace to society, but it's very true. But what's interesting about it, I've arrested kids who, for burglary, for robbery, even for attempted homicide, who were straight A students. Parents couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? And so I think that we have to be careful when we try to paint this picture. These children are just, they don't commit any crimes, they're just innocent. No, they're not innocent. Because an innocent 15-year-old would have had his butt in his classroom doing what he was supposed to do, not hammering at the face of another student. He seemed very comfortable in that position he took. So anyways, you guys, that's the end of this video. I plan on doing a part 2 to that because I want to really speak on the comments that the mothers have made in regards to their kids. I think there's a lot to be said behind that, especially within the Black community. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to these things as well. I definitely want to speak on and the experiences that I have dealing with similar situations. All right. Thank you guys. God bless.